You found a quiet corner of your mind, a shelf where all the broken things were piled. The stories told in whispers and in scars brought you here beneath these waiting stars. Not for a fix or just to soothe the ache, but for the chance that something new could break. So let the silence hold you like a seam where every thread of hope begins to gleam. This is the in-between. Welcome to the butterfly room, where healing's not an end, it is a tune. You learn to hum and gender afternoons. Transformation blooms from a cocoon of questions. You'll be led to see the colors waiting in the thread. Welcome to the butterfly room. We'll hold the lens up to the hidden part, the dormant art, the dormant art that's beating in your heart. We'll map the change, the subtle, steady turn, the steady turn, the lessons that the aftermath can earn. Not to erase the lines that make your map, but to unfold the wings across the gap and watch the old shell fragile drift away, making space for the new light of day. In this alchemical space, welcome to the butterfly room.
That's right. Welcome to the Butterfly Room with Miss Toya, and we've got a lot of conversations will be taking place, and we're looking forward to this amazing conversation. She's always got great guests, and today she's got a very special guest because, of course, a lot of people will be celebrating Father's Day and everything like that. Ironically, my father will be having his birthday the day before Father's Day because I believe Father's Day is the 21st, and his birthday is on the 20th. So oftentimes the birthday and Father's Day are back to back, and they're literally back to back this time around and everything like that. But definitely getting to bring in Miss Toya, who's got this very special guest because I am definitely a believer in the power of fatherhood. And all along those lines, I know one of the things that I talked about was that my younger brother, who is a pops himself and a father, had the oldest one celebrate his graduation. So Julius Malik Lee, that's right, he's got the middle name of my brother and everything like that. He graduated from Riverside High School and is getting ready to go off to college and all along those lines. So we're very excited to watch him go into adult life with some of the life lessons that he has learned from both my dad as well as from his grandfather, who is me and Malik's dad, and everything like that. So a lot of times it is generational knowledge that is helping us as we grow and continue to grow. I don't care whether you're 9 or 90, you're always learning and everything like that. So I'm definitely going to let you take over and introduce your dad, but I'm looking forward to this conversation because you called it dad talk and everything along those lines or something like that. And it's definitely going to be a rich conversation because dads teach us a lot and they teach their young ladies a lot, but they also teach the men in their life a lot as well. And like I said, and we can talk about it later, sometimes you don't even have to be a physical father because you can also be a mentor father-like figure.
Yes.
And that's what I oftentimes am doing at the art center that I work at, as well as other places that I'm involved in also. But I'm going to turn it over to you. I'll probably be back later on, and hopefully Dr. Diamond will be joining us as well, but I'm going to let you and your dad have this conversation right now because you set it up as a Father's Day show, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'm going to pull you off and let you introduce this wonderful man. I can tell you that he is a character. I've already learned that from just the brief time that we were there off stage and everything like that, but it does seem like he is a man of a strong faith, strong convictions, and definitely a smart individual as well. He might have had some troubles in his life, but he is definitely a wonderful person, and I am impressed by him just in the few minutes that I've met him. But I look forward to learning more about him during this show. But I'm going to step off and let you introduce your.
Thank you, Mark. As I stated before, good evening, everyone. And this is a special message that's been on my heart because we have Father's Day coming for 2026. And as I know that as I got ready to unfold this platform, I'm thinking about what's needed for healing. As we said, the butterfly morphs in 4 stages. And it is my pleasure to introduce my father, Mountain Monroe. He is on location in Richmond, Virginia. You can bring my father in, Mark.
Hello there. Hello, people.
Good evening, Dad.
How y'all doing?
How are you doing, Daddy? I'm just happy that you agreed to do this. I know we talked about this. We have a lot of candid conversations, and I thought that was befitting as we've gone through a lot of changes, a lot of losses, and we had private conversation. Look at D. They go my cuz bro. Thank you so much, Derek, for listening. He's in Maryland. And I think that as you know that we are here and we want to be able to touch folks because sometimes folks don't really understand our relationship. And as I had stated, my journey wasn't what I thought, but as a believer and as I aged in life, I said, sometimes our purpose, we don't know what it is. And Daddy, we had those talks. And today I thought, in view of the upcoming Father's Day, we have morphed over the years. And I don't want to just give everything. I want folks to just get to learn you. But as folks know, I lost my mom young. You weren't there. However, through the course of the years, as I reached my 49th birthday, I see that you and I were destined to have this. It started off rocky. My mother died at a young age, and you had to make a decision. You had to decide, as we spoke, as we were pre-gaming, about the decision that you had to make. And, there may be some listeners who also had to make those decisions. But as a provider, I have worked with folks and there has been reunification. Ours was a different type of reunification because you had to make a decision. But I'm going to let you say hello to everyone. And I don't want to tell your story because I was young at that age. I had just turned 7. So you want to tell the listeners what was going on in 1984?
Hello, everybody. My name is Mountain Monroe. And I'm pleased to be on the show today. And I love you, Toya. Always will. Mother Popcorn. That's what I call it. Back in 1984, I was young and crazy. I was 25 years old. I had just got married. And I was just, wow. I thought I had the world in my hands. But, I found out that the world didn't belong to me. I had to find out at a young age. And at that time, I had to make choices. I could have kept my daughter, but I chose to let her go with her aunt, to let them raise her, because the way that I was rolling, it wouldn't have worked.
And I love you for that.
It wouldn't have worked, and I thank God for that, giving me that grace.
Yes.
And all, but although that she was with her aunts, I still seen her every weekend if I wanted to, anytime. And that was the good part about it. I stayed in touch with the family, regardless of the fact whether I was married or wherever I was at, I stayed in contact with my daughter. Sometime later on in life, when drugs just took over my life. Drugs had took over my life. And I didn't know what to do. I thought that was what I was supposed to do. But it wasn't what God wanted me to do.
Amen.
It wasn't what God wanted me to do. I've been through a whole lot of things at a young age, been back and forth to jail for misdemeanors until I got older, in my 30s, and I started going to prison. And that journey right there was the crack era.
Mm-hmm.
It was the crack era. And I was running out of my mind. You know, all I had to have it. I had to do it. You know. And at a young age, Toya was like 14 years old. And I had to get my daughter to help me get out of jail because I couldn't call on nobody else. Because at that time, nobody didn't want to trust me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had my daughter to back me up. Always. And all I did was just tell her what to do and how to do it. And she did what I told her to do. And it got me it got me released from jail. Then after that, I still was doing what I wanted to do. Doing who I thought I could was. But it wasn't the one that God wanted me to be.
Yes, Dad.
God wanted me to turn my life around. And it wasn't until then, 1998, that I decided to change my life.
Mm-hmm. I was a junior in college.
That was the time when I lost my dad. And let me retrace my steps. Let me go back to the 80s. 1988, I lost my mother.
December the 1st.
December the 1st, 1988, I lost my mother. That was still in that crack era, you know. And I was 30 years old then.
Mm-hmm.
But my daughter was still okay. She was okay. She was doing well in school and all those things. And I could still I always stayed in contact with her. Then after that, 1993, I started going to prison. Out of 12 years, I did 8 years back and forth, in and out of prison, traveling in the prisons in New Jersey, Southwood State Prison, Rahway State Prison, Leesburg State Prison, and Southern State Prison, and Mid-State. The last one, my last stop was Mid-State State Prison, which was Fort Dix.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And yes, I am a veteran, which I came through Fort Dix when my daughter was born in 1977. And I did tell her mother, no, that ain't my baby. Yeah. I was 18 years old when she was born. And throughout these years, we've been growing up together.
Yes.
We have grown up together. And now, at 67 years old, I am 28 years clean from alcohol and drugs.
Yes.
No longer in my system, no longer in my life.
Amen.
And I can sit down and talk to my daughter about anything. We travel together, do things that, like brother and sister, but like father and daughter.
Now, yep,
Now
you
we
evolved to
can do
that.
those things. But I'm so proud of her, who she is now. And I know she's proud of me.
Yes, I am.
But most of all, I thank God for granting me the serenity to accept the things that I can and to courage to change the things that I can and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yes, Lord.
Because without him, I would not know nothing. Not nothing. And I try to incriminate him every day of my life on a special basis. Especially. I let him incorporate whatever he have to do in my life. So without him, I'm nothing.
Thank you, Daddy. My heart is touched because I've been dreaming of this. And like I said to you, my mom's not here. And I said, what is her legacy? Because remember, initially I was going to be a nurse. There were things that happened. And then I ended up working in a community health center for substance abuse. And that was someone that I dated, got me into a job at the university. And I felt that everything was God's design. As you sit here and tell me that, that's what's in my spirit. And there was sometimes some people said, what I can't do. I said, no, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. And I am just so proud of you because now we've done it. And that was the reality for me. Despite my mother not being there, I had two mom teas and I had different mothers. When my manuscripts come out, you'll really see the real story. But right now, as we said, in the fourth quarter of our life, Daddy, you're in your fourth quarter of your life. And that's basically what the Butterfly Room is about. You had to go through those stages. And now you're here where you are. For you to say that publicly and to see you interact in the community, be stressed. And that, the first thing, the step one, it says my life has become unmanageable. But guess what? Your life is manageable. And that's one of the things that we want the listeners to know, that when you say Mama Popcorn, I was a person getting my CADC, working around these folks, talking to my father. And when I said on one of my previous shows about that journal, my father wrote me. And I was a pen pal from some other people. My friend Kadia, what's up, Kadia? We pen pals. She was living in New York. And it was crazy because I was nerded out, geeked out, as you could say, because I went to Catholic school, but I always wrote. And it's crazy because when it was in school, I didn't want to write. But then when I would write you or just friends, I could express myself because sometimes we are misunderstood. And 2 years ago, as my dad had stated, he had just got married. And I thought about it. I was upset at one point because I wasn't in either of his weddings. But there was a reason why. And sometimes God protects us for whatever reason we don't know. But I just say that, if God brings you to it, he can bring you through it. I learned that from one of the ladies at my church, Sister Regina. How you doing? But I used to hear that saying, but never knew what it meant. But when you live with a parent, as they say, clinically, a COA is a child of an addict. And that was a label that I had, but it really wasn't a label. It was a reminder of what this journey would be. And as my dad stated, we did grow up together because if he's a child, my grandfather had a lot of children and he has siblings that are my age. So when you think about that, if we're both growing, but you gave me a present. And for someone else, it depends on how you look at it. I felt my father gave me a present because he signed me away. That was the love. And sometimes we don't really know the backstory, but he was always honest with me to fill the holes in my story. But I think that now, on the brink of me becoming 50, half a century, I was able to receive that information. And I had to take it in. But at the end of the day, you were honest. And sometimes, as they say that, as the younger kids now say it's a liable admission. I really didn't know what a liable admission was until one of Tyree's friends said that. But I never thought about that. But, the kids now say weird. As you know, what's weird? A behavior they don't know. But our families are both from the South. And you know what that is, because my grandfather had multiple wives and children. That also, affected you. Daddy, how did you feel about that? you think that affected you and how that changed the way you were able to parent? Just a question as we unfold our journey of love.
Yes, it did. It did. It changed who I am, which I watched my father as growing up, but he's always took taking care of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember those things. And I don't want those things to happen to anyone else in my family. You know what I mean? And to be on that page. Some of those things rubbed off on me. They rubbed off on me. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat nothing. I have friends, lady friends, and I meet friends. You know what I mean? I like to conversate. But I've learned not to be a womanizer so much. But I do speak certain things, certain times. But I have to curb my tongue sometimes. I have to curb it sometimes.
But remember, you were away for a while, and I know that for me doing groups, you had some folks. They said, "Well, I was institutionalized, and you're flirting and everything like that." But one thing I remember Aunt Poopy, she used to always say, "No wooden nickels." And one thing about me, you always told me to stand up, and I'm not going to say any names, but I remember a couple years ago, I got a phone call, and you stood up for me. And we're not going to get into it, but it was a male person that, I guess I would say I imprinted on, and that was in my life for a very long time. And you said something, and initially I was a little upset about it. But when you told me the purpose of it, you said, time is up. I didn't understand that. And I thank you, Daddy, because at one point when I was dating, you weren't able to tell me that. But when you told me that day, I got it, because we talked about that not too long ago. And it was some of the things that we yearn for. And I'm going to read this scripture. It says, 1 Corinthians 13:48, it says, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. Always hopes. Always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. And as it goes through, but when I thought about this scripture, that's been us. We've been on a healing journey, a journey of love, of how at one point young, and the love that we had, I got through all those things. And I think that at times I compared our relationship to others. But I think that you and I were vessels in whatever this is. And I can say that I am proud of you. So when I encourage, when I help folks, because I seen it through you. And at one point earlier in my career, I didn't share, but once I was able to disclose, because I knew who I was as I was building, it helped people. And that's one thing with the children. I believe that's why I mentor, because if it wasn't for my village, the mothers that I have, and sometimes it gets a little murky with women. They don't understand, but sometimes it takes a whole bunch of love. The first lady, Kunda Peterson, I wanted to say, Second Baptist, I'm a touch, and I have to give a shout out to my church, because this is the only church I knew. This is a church that my mother went to. My mother went to Mount Calvary Baptist Church, R.L. Lumsey. That's why I love the Lumsey sisters so much, because he gave my mother her last rites. And I think about how those pieces of my life actually helped me. And as you say, you love to sing. We love to sing. That's one thing about that. And I say, when you sing, it comes from your soul. When I sing, it comes from my soul. And I always have a song. And that's just one talent that you gave me. And I thank you, Dad, for giving me that, because I never understood. So when you sing and I listen to you, I know that you're releasing, because when you have been through something and you're on the other side, as you said, almost 30 years, for anyone listening who has a recovery journey, it ain't always about substances. It could be sex. It can be some people are kleptomaniac. There's a whole bunch of addictions that some people just steal for no reason. The point is that it's something that's within you. And as you know, we've been in a lot of self-help groups, and even Naranon, Al-Anon, those are the supports. But if you're doing this healing journey, it's like you and I do self-help sometimes. We'll be riding somewhere, right? What do we do, Daddy? We talk, we put our spirituals on, and we just ride out, don't we?
Yeah.
We ride out. But I want to ask you a question before we go any further. How do you feel right now that you just released? Do you feel like you released something big off your soul and your spirit?
Yes, I do. Because you've been wanting me to do this. And I'm not afraid to do anything, because Christ has got my back. Lord has got my back. And I feel a relief that was released from me. At any given time, when we're riding, we talk. I feel released. Sometimes I could be out ride crying, or waking up crying in the middle of the night because of the joy. Because of that joy. And I know I got that
lost
joy.
To restoration, Daddy. They say in the word that we're lost sheep. And I feel like that at times when you're looking for something. And that's why I chose that verse, because God is love. And I love hard. I love hard, and I look at you, and sometimes I didn't understand who I was because the anger comes in, but I have to make a choice because of my career. I can lose everything. And sometimes you have to start from the bottom to get to where you are. And I just say, I thank you, because my life could have been so much different. One of the wishes is that I stayed in Catholic school. My mother wanted me to make Catholic school, and it was honored. And you said I got kicked out of 3 preschools. I didn't know all of that. And it's just some parts of my life I don't know.
You was something. Ooh, but those are things that we remember. I know I remember it. Had to come to get you, and the lady said, please don't bring her back. Please don't bring her back. She poured milk on the other kids.
But I think that I used to get in trouble for doing my homework in another class. But I think that by me being hyper in my brain, I was bored and I would get in trouble. So I remember I was waitressing, and I would be doing my math homework in a different class. But I was an honor student. But now I understand I'm always multitasking. And Mark over here, Daddy, I don't get an answer. So I have to do something else. But the producer, I tell you, he works in a community center right now. So he's chiming in, and I know he sees a lot of children, and he probably sees someone that was probably like me, all into stuff. So now, Mark, you know a little bit more about me and why I'm such a doer. And he calls me Mama Popcorn, because all my dad called me collect, said, can you do this? He tells me to go to where I had to go. I don't want to go. I had to go to where we were raised at, and I had to go see some people. And I said, my dad told me to come. I need this money. So all I know, I got some money, went to where I need to be. I was braiding this lady's hair at the time. I said, can you sign for my father? Whatever he said on the phone to this lady, we went where we went. I couldn't sign nobody. We did a bail bondsman. Next thing my dad comes, and that was it. And it was always that it was a savior, because I knew something inside me said to do it. And look where we are now. Restoration. Losing my baby brother was something that was hard for us. I'm the only boy. And I said, sometimes there are intergenerational curses, but we're trying to break those things. And I think that we are.
No, you're definitely doing that and everything like that. I was just going to tease you, Mr. Monroe, because your daughter is still a handful, even as a producer. I can say that, and all along those lines. Handful when you're trying to do these shows, but she does an amazing job. She's already done several episodes and has done a great job in terms of healing and all along those lines. But I did have a quick question for you and everything, because my barber is actually a Muslim brother, but the gentleman that owns the shop and has owned the shop for a number of years actually served time himself as well. So I know that Tony, who owns the shop, served time in Caledonia, which is a state prison. I don't think it's federal, but it's either state or federal here in North Carolina. And he's now going out and has been a longtime barber in the community and is definitely seen as a leader in the community as well. So I was just wondering, what advice would you give to people that have had to serve time for whatever the crime that they might have done, and how can they get back into society? Because I know that as a person that has been in the system, that you have probably mentored others as they are trying to reacclimate themselves to society. So I know that Tony was, I would consider him a friend and everything like that, that he is a community leader in a lot of ways, because, the barbershops oftentimes are the place of gossip, but they're also where some
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That is true. But my feedback for anyone that has gotten out, the good book says, get a God of your understanding. God of your understanding, meaning if it's a book to you to read, which my book is the Bible, and I generate myself to the Word of God. But that's what got me correct. Or if it could be a program, something. Because there are things out there that can help that help us to get back and make us be the person that we are today, that I am today.
Yep, that makes sense.
And can be. But I would suggest to anybody that's just coming home, just say no, period, to all those negative things. Turn it to a positive. And like I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I hustle. I sell pocketbooks. I sell oils. I sell incense. I sell music. I'm a gospel artist.
He's out there at the parade. He'll be in Jersey. He always does the Plainfield 4th of July parade. He has his cart.
And but I'm an entrepreneur. But and like I said, and I'm a veteran, which God had granted me to be 100%. And it was a rough journey, but I got it.
Yeah. Back over to you and Toya and everything, but I did know that Tony told me an interesting story, and I just want to share it with you really briefly, because it's about releasing the past. Because he was a track runner when he was in high school, I believe it was, and everything like that. I think the gentleman's name was Bobby Ferguson, because they had the A team and the B team, and the B team, of course, never really had a chance to win a medal and everything like that. But in one meet, they did get a chance to win the medal, and I think he won his leg and was going to be actually finally getting his recognition and all along those lines. But as you know, if you've ever done track meets, the baton is a very important part of the meet, and somebody mishandled the baton. I think that was Mr. Ferguson. So even though he served time and everything like that, he saw Mr. Ferguson walking the streets and everything like that, and me and the other people in the barbershop were teasing him, because he said, I saw Bobby, I recognized Bobby, but no, I didn't even honk my horn, because I still regret what Bobby did to me at that particular time by not handling the baton. So sometimes we hold on to things that we probably don't need to hold on, even minor.
You're right. Exactly.
And I think that's why I was so good with my approach in the group, because I didn't tell folks initially where I came from.
Right.
And as time got on, I was able to share. And as you know, in some of the episodes, because it was real life experiences, and folks didn't really know. And then the young folks I had from Jersey City, they would come in, but it was like if those were my brothers. And I explained to them what they could do. Even like video games. Now, if these children were able, they would be making money right now, because people have professional tournaments. It became a job. But back then, the children, it was a way to get out. However, it got them sedentary. They became heavier. However, my son was always outside. Because, I was a tomboy, but I just feel that the family support is very important. And I was always my father's rock, as I explained to the phone calls. And I think my mom, T, Nan for allowing that to be, the letters, the stamps. I remember my grandfather I said, Pop, I need stamps. Nowadays they have JPay, electronic stuff, which they're making a whole lot of money. I don't know how. The only good thing is the calls are cheaper. But you have to think, after COVID, that's how they can catch people, because there's monitoring of calls. But back then there was a lot going on. But I just say that it made me different at times and misunderstood, because I knew, I lived and experienced. But now I'm taking the Band-Aid off. And that's why I said my memoir will go through all of that. But again, self-help, support, no judgment. For folks say higher power, I know that spirituality is the glue. But your higher power don't necessarily have to be for anyone that's a believer, yes. But one guy I remember, he said, my higher power is my son. So you get it? This just transferred. If someone who's saying they're an atheist, and I had to speak with atheists, I said, okay, if you don't believe, but somebody created us, so we're going to call that creator. And that's how I would do my segment, no disrespect to anyone, but that was my approach. And I think the greatest part of my career, even though I was laid off and the company eventually folded, because I looked, and I had the opportunity to run it. And when I ran it, it was me not asking the staff not to do something that I wouldn't do. I would go in and take a urine and talk to them, even appearing in court, because I was in court. And I guess that's why I was unshaken by that, because I had to go to make sure that my father was there. So I think that, we're just trying to let the listeners know that your journey does not necessarily have to be the end. Right. Ours started with a piece of paper where he gave his love up for me. And people didn't understand it. No child support. If he signed over his rights, there would not be no child support, because he made a choice. Right. And I think that sometimes I thank you, and I can thank you over and over again, Daddy. I was one of your children who understood that. Where I think that, for anyone that's listening, may listen to the playback, again, we're all individualized with what our journeys are. And I know Dr. Diamond, hopefully she'll be getting on. I know she had another meeting. Her journey also started different, or it could be that someone is there, but they may be actively in their addiction. They can be there, but not present. There's a lot. If you think about power, anyone watching Raising Cain, I just watched that last episode. I know, Daddy, you know about all of that. As far as me going to the hood, visiting you, seeing you, calling the phone booth to talk to my father. And just to say, I used to go over on a half a day. Catholic school, my mom, T, didn't know. And I remember one day I got stuck over there in Plainfield. Couldn't get home. I had a call. She said, what are you doing? I said, I got the bus over here. Rest in peace, Derek. And he would give us a ride over there. And a friend of mine at the time, we got stuck. I missed the bus. And then I think a friend of us who, I was dating at the time, he didn't come back from New York in time, because he was going to give me money to take a cab. Because I would take a cab home. No one would know. But I wanted to see my father. And there was so many times that I went, I never got caught. But I wanted to see my father on a half a day. And that's really what it was, because I really wanted to see you, because that was my connection. But I think the biggest pivotal moment that I'm going to share was why he wasn't there for my mother's second funeral. She had a funeral at Anderson Funeral Home. Then her final resting place is in Columbia, Mississippi, in our family cemetery. So my dad and I took our first trip. And what happened, Daddy? I'm gonna let you talk. What you shared with me, something I never knew.
Because my first wife didn't want me to go. She didn't want me to go to the funeral of my daughter's mother, which Toya was 7 years old. And I really, really felt bad about that. And it harbored in me for a long, long, long time, until when we went to New Orleans, and then we went to Mississippi, my first time in Mississippi. And I explained to Toya what happened, because I never told her until then why I did not attend it. I came to the one in New Jersey, but I couldn't come to the one in Mississippi because of that reason. And I'm so sorry today.
I forgave you, Daddy. For anyone listening, sometimes you don't know. Some of the women don't understand. I don't get it. Rest in peace to your first wife. And it was something that explained, it was a hole in the story that I was having some vision, did not know why. And I get it now. Maybe I wasn't ready for that answer, but Daddy, we cried. You said your goodbyes, and we moved on. Because right now, when we hold that, because I turned my life over, and as you said, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, right? We can't change the past, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And sometimes that wisdom is patience and grace.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I ask for people, sometimes you need a moment. I guess I needed that armor as a mental health professional to get through that. Because imagine if you would have told me that years ago, we probably would never be talking. But there's a lot of stuff that you and I, the reason why I have other siblings, folks have different upbringings, but you were always honest. But sometimes some people can't take the truth. But I took a beating in my life that, again, my memoir will discuss. But I felt this needed to happen because there are other folks now that I see that we're in a period of, I think depression is brinking because folks are not happy. Everyone needs to heal those wounds. Some people are not ready to heal them. But I know for me, it holds me because I have medical conditions that affect my stomach. And in order for me to live, I have to purge the things that I don't want to. And for anyone that has any GI issues and you have some trauma, there are people dying for something that is preventable because they're running from it. When you carry that in your soul, what I posted today, every day I posted a butterfly. When you're holding something in your soul that can kill you from the inside out. My father's a diabetic. And Daddy, when you don't eat, what happens?
I get sick.
Exactly. So imagine you're a diabetic, you're not eating, you need the nourishment so that you can sustain. And as we say, God is our sustainer. And sometimes I don't understand. I know my pastor says, keep me behind that cross. And I say that now because I'm living it. I never thought in my life that I would be here where I am, but that's what sustained me, having belief in a higher power, our creator. As my pastor said, if the birds has a nest and the foxes have a hole, do you know that every time you have something going on, don't it always work out, Mark? You get up every day. I was talking to a family member that I love today, and it's just, as we go through changes in life, we just got to understand that there's always something on the other side. As they say, you get double for your trouble. And Daddy, everything that you said, and I know that God loves you. Because right now you were able to share and purge. Because guess what? There's an adversary. I had Markia Ashley, one of our previous guests, spiritual suicide. Spiritual suicide when you don't know your purpose.
Yeah.
Your purpose. Our purpose, Daddy, was to get to here. The journey of love. And I'm so happy. Thank you, Mark, for opening today's show with that.
Yeah.
What you just said, everything you said, it got us here. We don't know what we're going to do, but we're healing. That's what the purpose of the Butterfly Room is, period. Yeah. And for anyone, as this Father Day unfolds, just understand, if you want to, if you can't talk to them, write a letter, write something out. You know what I mean? Mark, I know you care to share anything about the community center. I know that year. Tell us what you see. I know you talk a lot because he's very knowledgeable. I call him one of the historians on here, Dad.
Well, I'm actually a historian for the Cultural Arts Center and everything like that. And there's a lot of people that are mentors to many. And of course, there are single parents there as well as others that have gone through their journey, because not everybody is a father in the sense of being a birth father, but there are a number of people that have that mentor fathership kind of a role. So I know that I sometimes give advice. As a matter of fact, I was talking to one of the young fellows yesterday because we were going through some of our historical documents, and I was actually going to ask y'all about that because we're finding items, because we have a storage room that has like some mementos, including some old records and some old Ernie Barnes books and a number of other things. But we found a record, because you and Toya were talking about the importance of music, even in your own journeys and everything like that. But I found like an old 1974 Jackson 5 record and an old record from Eric and Rakim, and even an old Commodore's record. And I haven't even gone through the thousands of records. There are probably other treasures that are in there as well. But I was just wondering how important in your own journeys has music been? Because you kind of alluded to that, Toya, even with your journeys with your dad and everything. And who are some of the musicians that you remember that you still resonate with and all along those lines? Because that music can definitely help us in our journey. It's a very much a healing force and everything like that. So I guess I'll start with you, Mr. Monroe. Is what are some of the music that got you through those hard times? Because I can tell you that when my parents had a community, I had a radio station, because she's right, I do work at the Cultural Arts Center, Haytat in Durham, but my parents back in the 70s, from 76 to about 85 or 86, had a radio station in rural North Carolina, and we used to get letters regularly, because there was a jazz radio station that also had blues and R&B and hip-hop shows and everything like that. But we would get letters from the prisoners, whether it was Caledonia or whether it was the state prison or a number of other prisons here in North Carolina, even some of those in Virginia, where that music was helping them get through those tough days. And I'm sure that music helps you get through some of those tough days as well. So how important was music to helping you get through your journey? And I'm sure there was some great gospel music that helped you get through.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. The Mighty Clouds of Joy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
To name a few. Sam Cooke, you know, he's way older than me, but I remember him. You know, his music. Otis Redding,
Yes.
all those older artists that put meaning. Marvin Gaye.
Yes.
You know, everybody had back in those days. You knew who they were from the first word that they said.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the music that's on now, you don't know,
Right.
because all it's repeating itself, but it's repeating itself back to the old way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But that old stuff is you can't.
We love
copy
the
it.
Lumsey sisters. We love Daddy. What's your favorite song? You want to sing us a little something right there? You know, what's your favorite song, Daddy?
I got a lot of them. I got a lot.
You
I
know
got,
which
I'm not
one
gonna
he
sing
always sing, because he gets the call for the funerals. You know what song I'm talking? I won't.
I won't complain.
That's his song.
Oh, yeah.
I've had some good days. I've had some bad days.
Yeah.
I've had some hills that I had to climb. I've had some weary days and some sleepless nights.
You ain't gonna sing for us,
No,
Daddy. You
No,
might as
I'm
well
not
sing.
gonna. I'm not gonna give it to you today. I'm not gonna give it to you today.
Oh, okay. So we gotta invite him back. So in the next Daddy Talk, you're gonna sing, but I'm hoping it'll be on location, and I'll be where you at. And it's gonna be a live video, and it's gonna be really good, because my uncles, they have a group, and then we're the Monroes. So when we get together, we karaoke. But that's how we release. And I think that whatever it is, whenever you put music on, it releases everything. I'm just elated right now.
No,
I feel a weight lifted off my shoulders. I had a heavy day. And sometimes, we get up and, peace be still. Peace be still.
No, and you're definitely being still. And that music and that being still is important. I was actually just thinking about Teddy Pendergrass, who is another great singer, and you mentioned
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Harold Melvin did the Blue Notes back in the day, but you never know.
Dad,
I used to think that Teddy Pendergrass was Harold Melvin, but it wasn't.
No.
He started as their drummer.
Right.
He was their drummer.
Yeah.
A lot of them. Jeffrey Osborne, he was a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
He was a drummer.
Oh yeah.
Well, you play the drums and he plays the bass. I told my dad I'm learning how to play the bass now. I said I love it. I just be sitting there, and I was talking to a friend one day, and it was like music always in the house. You think about it, my grandmother used to be playing cards. I'm thinking about the old ways, how the big mamas were there. I miss my grandma. My mama biscuits. I got in trouble for these biscuits. It was so funny. My grandma used to make these biscuits, so my aunt make them. I'm not the best. I'm still working it out. I told my Aunt Margie, I said, I'm gonna come down there. I had to make the mama biscuits. But those were the things. When you say like a lollipop, for me, it was the homemade stuff, tea cakes and things of that nature. I love cooking the Southern meals, but it's just the culture that is missing. And I think that now, as far as even like you said, with recovery and just getting here, Daddy, almost 30 years.
Uh-huh.
30 years. Can you tell the folks what you do, what your routine is? Because now, like you said, you say no. And I know that you're around folks. So what makes you can be around people and you don't want to engage? What do you think there's you like? I'm gonna let you answer that question.
I can look at them and I used to point fingers. No, I don't do that because when you point one finger, you got four fingers pointing back at you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't point fingers at all. I just pray for them.
Mm-hmm.
I just pray for them. You know.
Yeah.
And because you don't have to. Some people can enjoy and do that all their life.
Yes.
But I was not one of those type. I had to have it all.
Yeah.
Let me have it all, or don't give me none at all. So I choose not to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel better not doing. You know, but only by the grace of God, only by His grace and His mercy.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because I know that old saying that I know Toyo will know what I'm talking about, but it's that old saying of those that are from glass houses don't need to be throwing stones because if
Don't throw no stones.
back
Mm-hmm.
and have shatter their glass houses and everything like that. I do see that your cousin was saying that prayer is powerful, and I definitely agree with that because I actually just laid to rest this past Sunday my youngest aunt because my mother had three sisters and two of them had passed on, the eldest and the youngest. So it's now just my mom and my Aunt Julie of the four sisters that were raised together and everything like that. They did have a brother, but he died as a infant. So they did have a younger brother, but I don't even think he made it to 1 year old, if I remember correctly, and everything like that. But of the four sisters, two of them have passed, and my Aunt Vaughn, who just passed, has a long legacy and all along those lines because y'all were talking about the family cemetery. She was actually laid to rest in our family cemetery, the Tillman Lynn Cemetery there in Halifax County, and all along those lines. But she's got 26, I believe, if I'm counting correctly, grandkids and everything like that. So that family legacy is very important because she's got, I think each of her kids have between 4 or 5 kids of their own, and she had 6 kids, 5 girls and a boy, and one of the girls died in after giving birth to their last child and everything like that. But yeah, I think she's left 26 grandkids and maybe even some great grandkids as well. But definitely it's that memories, that legacy. And I was just wondering, because you got the family legacy with your daughter Toya, how important is the family legacy for you, and how do you maintain your family connections?
Well, basically, I love family. And what I try to do is get close. My cousin that keeps chiming, I used to go there like every other month, but then things slow down with my, her injury and everything like that. But I try to stay close. And I think that sometimes I had to deal with codependency. That's one of the things that we don't really talk about because I was thirsty for this, the father thing. And I think I had some daddy issues. That's going to be another daddy talk. But I think that from my experience is I need that connection. And I fear that because I've had losses, my son took my brother's death hard. He was very close to him. My father was away down south, so then he was close. So those are the things that I strive for, that I'm used to weekends with the family. Everyone's too busy now. So I feel that that's why I volunteer my time. The foundation's important. And I try to stay close. So what I do now is I mentor, because when I'm mentoring, then I'm able to fill a void. But now I think the biggest challenges is as individuals, we need to be able to be by ourselves.
Right.
But now if you think about it, we have our cell phone, right? We pick up our cell phone. We don't have a period of homeostasis, of rest. And I think that's why we're constantly going, women, as we go through the change of life, men go through the change of life. But we have to learn to be still. One of the things I put on my hashtag here is be still and know. So you have to think about a butterfly. And our lesson at our last show is that's 4 stages. That's patience. Right. That creature has to be patient. Mm-hmm. So that's why I said love is patient, love is kind. But people say they love, but one of the things that if we don't love ourselves, then how can we love someone else? And I think that's the biggest thing. And like, Dad, did you love yourself back then? I'm going to be honest with you, since I opened the door right now. Did you love yourself when you were in your addiction? And that's going to answer something for
No, I didn't.
Did you love it?
No, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
No, I did not.
And when did you start loving yourself? Because that was probably, I know for a fact.
When I said I'm
Wait
tired
a moment.
of
Tired.
being sick and tired.
So your bottom, as we
Yeah.
say in the clinical world, bottom.
Uh-huh.
So do you feel what was your bottom? The incarceration, if you care to share?
Incarceration, my bottom was when I had to go and see my father without my other siblings. When he passed away, and that's when I said no, I'm done. And that at that moment, that's when I said I give it up. Cause sure, I could have got high while I was in prison, but I didn't. But I did not. You know, and that's what I said. I'm tired. I'm done.
Yes.
That makes
And
a
from
lot
that
of
day on, I haven't did anything.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that, Daddy, because I really wanted to know that question. So that's a whole, because I remember the funeral. Poopy, my aunt, was a double amputee, and I remember there's a picture that I have at my grandfather's funeral. I was in college, my freshman year, and it was tough. It was really tough because at that time there was a lot of changes. I lost my grandma, which I was over there a lot, and then from here, as you said, I was in school. So what I did was just push. School was my answer. It was always my answer. But then as you get out of school, what do? And then the government changes what they can do. But now I'm teaching in a different way. And I thank you for sharing that, because sometimes if a person don't know what their bottom is, how can you go up? And as they say, what goes down must, go up, come down.
What goes
But the
up
whole point
must
is
come
it's a pivotal
down.
moment.
And by the way, I know that it's a short. I mean, I know you're trying to do it in an hour, but maybe she's got some things to say as well. But Dr. Diamond did come in. I do see her in the bottom and everything like that.
Yes, bring her in, please. We were waiting for her. I know she has something going on.
I'll bring her up and everything. Hope she's over to be on camera and everything like that. Or maybe she's just going to do it audio and everything like that. But Dr. Diamond, we've been having a great conversation with Toya's dad and everything like that. So I don't know if you can hear it, but it's been a powerful conversation.
I can hear you. So I guess you all can give me a quick synopsis of the conversation, because yes, I was on a meeting that I thought would have been an hour, but it was actually longer. But so I'm listening.
No worries. Thank you for coming into our Daddy Talk number 1. And basically my dad shared his story so you can catch the playback. And it was significant because he also shared about his incarceration. And I know the show last week was about that. And he explained when he hit his bottom. So he just shared now that when my grandfather passed, he had to not go with his sibling. My grandfather had a lot of boys. So because of his position, he missed that. That was his bottom. And we talked about how 30 years and how he made me a ward of the court. He gave me a present because he knew that he wasn't able to be there. So as we grew up together, that's why my name Mama Popcorn, to the point is I helped him get bailed out of jail at 14. Here, I've always been that person, and now he is my daddy. And him just sharing his story so that we can heal some other people. And I just thought it was ironic because the losses of how he shared with me 2 years ago, he missed my mother's second funeral because my stepmother said he couldn't come. So that explains some things, but I'm not going to share everything that's in my memoir, but why I was without my father at my mother's funeral, her final resting place. And that's how we are here today. And I'm so proud of my father as he is of me.
Yeah, no doubt. And Miss Toya, along those same lines, a lot of times those memories can haunt us and everything like that. Because even though I've not been married, I do remember that when one of my best friends passed away and everything like that, and I was probably a young man in my early 20s and everything like that, and I was dating a young lady, and I did not go to the funeral of my best friend because she also had a little bit of that jealousy that you were talking about with Mr. Monroe's ex-wife, and she found ways to discourage me from going to see my friend in his last days and all along those lines. So that's one of my regrets even to this day. And I know, like I said, my aunt passed away, and because sometimes we don't have we can't even be in denial. I said that she had many kids. Most of the kids did make it back to the funeral. I mean, like I said, one of them did pass after giving childbirth, and she passed several years back, but another one did not make it from Oklahoma. And we're thinking that part of it could have been denial that she was not going to
You sleeping?
that her
I
dad
know.
and everything like that. And
I'm
the other
getting
thing
hungry.
is that she might not have the resources to come here as well. So we'll never, well, unless she shares it with us, we'll never know the full story. But definitely, she did not make it to see her mother's last resting place.
Yeah, and then thank you for sharing that, Mark, because the point again, we're trying to heal folks. It's a point of a decision. You're with someone and you want to pay your last respects. And I think that this is a question when you're dating someone, how do they feel about that? The person is no longer here. There's no competition. And again, this was a hard memory, but I can talk about it because we're almost 2 years in. But to understand, I was wondering where he was. And of course, sometimes folks are not a fan of that. But I thank him for making that decision. As we said, it was a journey of love. He made a decision. He left me with my mother's eldest sister. My grandmother had 8 children. My mother was the youngest. So at that time I was 7 and he was only 25. So at 25, he made a big decision. I still had the paper. And it allowed me to assist me in my school as well, because I was able to get some scholarships because I was a single, I lost my mother and et cetera, et cetera. It used to be I think the Prince Hall scholarship book, but now I don't know if they even have it. I applied for several scholarships and I got some money from that. So you just fill those things out for any children that lost someone. There is money out there. Our organization that we're involved in, you need to fill those essays out. You need to fill out those applications. They says entirety. I know that community service. Sometimes one of the questions on those applications, I did community service. It got to the point where at my high school, because I did everything African-American, they didn't want me to let me into the National Honor Society.
Right.
And they said, well, my family argued, well, she's going to a Catholic school, but she's African-American. So she's going to volunteer in her community. She's not volunteering through the Catholic Church. So it was a big thing. But I did make the cutoff for the National Honor Society my junior year. But these are things that I went through a lot. Yeah. But I guess I got that from you, Daddy. My perseverance. I pushed. And my mother, what was my mother? My mother was 5'2", 98 pounds. Tell the real listeners about my mom.
Yeah, she was a very good person. She had a soft heart. She was very warm and welcoming. I had to have her when I first met her. I had to have her. I followed her. I met her. She came up to Plainfield with my cousin, and I said, "Well, I like her." And after that, we were together.
But you wasn't so nice with her because you were doing some bad stuff, sir.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You said you was messing with somebody around the corner, but you had to think he was young. He wasn't even grown, right? Yeah, Dr. Diamond, right? He was just out there doing his 1-2.
Well, you know what I would say to that? Just like I had to learn a lot about my own dad, their stories humanize them. I think what we see as our parents, we want them to be a certain way, but don't understand that no one is perfect. And especially at the age that at 25. At 25, the decision-making skills are there, but the maturity has to catch, it's going to have to happen. So at that time, when you're young, you're 20-something years old, you are really free. You really are. And I think the thing is, again, we don't see it in that way, especially when they become our parents. Because again, we have expectations of them and then don't realize that, you know what, they were young once like us. All of us went through our 20s. We all did not make the right decisions about things. So, but again, having your dad tell his story really humanizes him. And then you can see, wow, okay, and your connection will be stronger, because that's what happened with me and my father. Listen, my father had 11 of us. He was a gangster, all of that, and not nice to women either. But one day I sat down and had a conversation with him, and I tell you what forgiveness looks like. I began to forgive him because I was like, wow, he has a story. you know. So, and that's what I would say about Mr. Monroe too. He has a story, and hearing that story will bring you to a place where the healing happens, because you have to be willing to hear it and also put aside what you think your personal biases may be, or judgment,
Yes.
or whatever your thoughts are. You put it to the side, and then you can hear your dad. You'll hear him, and then that healing will come.
Thank you so much, Dr. Diamond, for even sharing that, because I know you had something going on, but we always work it out in this movement. And I think that God's design allowed this. And the more and more I spoke with you offline, as she helped me to start my morphing process along with some others, and look where we are now. And now I believe that's what God designed was, April, because we both lost our mothers. We were raised by
Mhm.
others. We had
Right.
fathers. My father was in and out of jail. He explained how,
Yeah.
and he missed his father's, that was his bottom, and now I
Yeah.
forgave him. And sometimes people don't understand that, but I feel that it was at the appropriate time when everything unfolded. So that's why, as his eldest child, as he calls me Mama Popcorn, he helped Mama Popcorn, and he missed some things, but now I got my dad. And I always say daddy, daddy, because I missed those daddy moments for the years
Oh,
when he
we
was
have a
in
point
the
from one of
world.
your relatives and everything like that. Derek Dixon is saying, good point. We've all made mistakes in our youth, but the good Lord grants us grace for the sake of change for the better. And I will actually argue that it's not just young people. I hear what you said, Dr. Diamond, but as I was talking to my aunt about my great grandfather, we were thinking about how after his wife passed and everything like that, he had a couple of lady friends, but they were in the family church and everything like that. So, because I was asking, I said, I remember him having like a couple that were maybe even not age appropriate. We'll just put it that way. They weren't like teenagers or anything like that, but they were young fellows in their 20s or 30s when he was probably in his 70s or 80s and everything like that. And that's when my aunt was like, yeah, he had a couple of friends in the church. So there were a couple of those church ladies that were dating him. And I'm sure Mr. Monroe can relate to that, because sometimes those ladies will be out there trying to figure out their next significant other, and you might get more than one.
Mhm.
But
And that's
thank you,
true.
Daddy, for this Father's Day blessing.
You're
There was
welcome.
more
You're welcome.
holes in my story
I
filled,
enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
and I wanted you to, I said, we prayed beforehand. I said that we're on this journey from loss, healing to restoration. We are in the restoration stage right now. And I just hope that anyone that's listening understand it can happen. But sometimes we can't rush it. I know some folks don't understand our daddy-daughter relationship, but because we grew up together, as we stated in the opening, and then we had to heal together. I know my grandmother buried 3 of her children. So now there's so many losses. We've had a lot of losses. So the only thing is that I want us to heal. If my grandfather was living, if my brother was living, I know that a lot of things that are happening wouldn't be. So my prayer is that we can heal, that we can come together. Because I just know that we are all not alone in this journey. And as this is Daddy Talk number 1. And for anyone listening to us, and thank you, Dr. Diamond, for sharing that, because I know we have more commonalities than we know. And when we're ready to peel this onion, I know that, was it at Bennigan's, they used to have the blooming onion or something like that, and you have to peel the onion back, and you're gonna cry.
Right.
I could cry a lot easier now. Because sometimes, as my dad said in the beginning of the show, is joy. Daddy, what you say, joy? We sing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Joy is
Yes.
very important and everything like that. We have more in common than I had realized, Toya, because you mentioned that you had lost certain parents, or not parents, but grandparents, when you were in college. And I remember that in high school is when I lost my first grandfather, because he passed away in 1979. So I would have been a high school, a junior going into my senior year of high school. And then the grandma, with dad's mom, passed while I was at Marquette and everything like that. And now her husband had passed when I was an infant, so I don't even really have that much memory of him. And then grandma on mom's side passed.
Daddy, put your phone up. He over here with this phone. Sorry, Mark, but he just, the
No,
camera.
no.
You know, this is
I'm trying to keep it up, but I'm getting hungry.
okay. We're gonna wrap this up, but basically, my son never met any of his grandparents. All of my grandparents passed before I graduated from college, so it was a lot. So we have a lot of extension. My my German godmother, and I just know that extended family. And I'm going to stress that again. You get love from when you get love from families. We're born into families. And I didn't like to really say this, as we stated with the Bible verse. We said, love is patient, love is kind. We are born into families. Friends become family. Right. And I just know that the village that I had, the village daddy that helped you through your recovery, you know, we talk about that when we taking our ride, we going to North Kakalaki, we driving, he got a heavy foot. He said, let me drive. I don't want him to drive because he be gone. And those when we really get to build. And I guess that's why I'm so stuck with history, because when I would go to Mississippi, I would sit in Shell Peas and get the history. So right now, I think that we have ancestry.com. Find out where your lineage comes from. Because as you see, we look different. Because you didn't claim me, because both of my parents are brown skin, and he didn't claim it, but he know I'm his child. Right, Daddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we're going to get ready to wrap up. But Dr. Diamond, for anyone listening with this Daddy Talk as we embark on Father's Day 2026, what would you say for anyone with restoration? Because basically what we're talking about today, Daddy Talk, a journey of love. So what would you share for the listener as the professional tonight?
What I would say, I would highly recommend that listening is the key. Everyone has a story, and we all grow up, and we all experience many, many things. But remember, when our parents, grow up and they mature and they go through things, it is okay to hear their story. It is very important to do that, because that also heals them as well. There are times that they're very hesitant to build the relationship because they don't know how their children feel about them if they were not there. So welcoming them back in is a part of what your healing is also going to look like as well, especially when you feel that hole. You feel a void. And when you feel that void, how do you fill it? What do you do with that? How do you address that? And when you're not ready, it's okay not to be ready. But then when you think about forgiveness, forgive for yourself, forgive for your healing. But when you're ready, take those baby steps and begin to have that conversation. This is what Toya began to do. So she has a clear example of what that looks like. This is something that I have done. And I can relate a lot to you, Toya. And we do have a lot in common. When you build these relationships back up. So one loss of one parent and then the other one. And how they come in and out of your life. But then when that opportune time comes, and it may be, yes, when you are a mature person, when you may be in your 40s and you're trying to build this relationship with your parent, do it, because you only get that one parent. Okay. So that's what I would say, salvage these relationships, because you will regret it if you don't. You will regret it. So remember to try to heal your heart, fill that void, but with positivity when you're going in with that conversation and that healing. All right. And that will be my recommendation for, those that are listening to the Butterfly Room this evening.
Thank you so much. And Daddy, what we do, we do closing words. So she is the PhD. She's the one that ripped the Band-Aid off of me and got us here today, Daddy. So what are your closing words for the folks that are listening to us? Because you just did a big thing. And like you said, you released, Daddy. So now you're going to have a really good Father's Day. I know you want to eat, and I know you're diabetic, and I appreciate you just eating a little bit late today. But he has all those dogs over there. That's the problem. Dogs come first, when he should have ate and then did the other stuff. So that's why we're dog lovers. That's where I get that from. Chihuahuas, okay?
Yeah, I love my Chihuahuas. But my last word for the day is too blessed to be stressed. That's my last word for the night. I'm too blessed to be stressed.
Okay. Thank you, Monroe. And our producer, Mark, I know you're there with some youngins. And what do you have to say? Because we covered a lot in a little bit of time.
We did cover a
So what
lot
would
in
you
a
have to
little bit
say?
of time and everything like that. By the way, your cousin said the first commandment with promise tells us to honor thy father and thy mother, so our days will be long on the land the Lord has given us. There is no addendum or caveat to that, and I would agree with what your cousin was saying. And ironically,
Thank you, D. That's my cuz, bro. My, and I'm the eldest grandchild from my grandfather, so that's my cuz, bro. But he act like he's older than me. He's also a veteran. He's in Maryland, and I'm coming soon.
I've got a buddy that's a gang advocate, tries to get people out of gangs, just like my younger brother does as well, who has that same name. So I was actually thinking it was him, but he lives here in North Carolina. So there's another Dedrick Dixon that also does a lot of work with our at-risk youth and tries to get them out of gangs and all along those lines. So it's a very noble work that is done, whether it's my brother or whether it's Desrick or whether it's a number of other folks that I know, even Otis Lyons, that has done plays that tries to get people to not go down the negative paths and everything like that. So no matter what our situations are and no matter what we're going through and everything like that, and I think your dad has proven this, that we can overcome whatever obstacles may have been placed in front of us. We don't need to wallow in our past. We don't need to wallow in the things that we might have done wrong in life, because we've all done things that we have erred in. I don't know any perfect person. The last perfect person that was out there, I believe, was probably Jesus Christ himself and everything like that. And I've joked that even as an infant, he might have had some things that he was doing, because we all know that infants have their moments of hollering, and we don't know the story because we haven't seen the Lost Scrolls as how he treated Mary and Joseph when he was a youngster. But that's just me joking and all along those lines. But we do know that as far as we know, the only perfect person, and definitely as a teenager and trying to make sure that we are all going the right path, was that particular individual that walked the earth so many years ago and all along those lines. So definitely don't wallow in the past, and let's go out there and make a positive difference in life and everything like that. And of course, we all are going on healing journeys. But like I said, it doesn't matter whether you're healing a relationship with your father or healing relationships with brothers or other kin and all along those lines. And the last thing I would say is that it's important to respect the father figures in your life, because not all fathers are those that have given birth. Because as you mentioned, I do work at the Hayti Heritage Center, and I consider myself a mentor to many, including some of the drummers and some of the others that are in their 30s and 40s, and even some that are in their teenage years and all along those lines. So I would argue that as we go through life and go through those quarters of life that you were talking about earlier, Toya, that we will find that we are being mentored to, and we are going to be mentoring others. As a matter of fact, that cultural center just recently hired a new executive director. She was the interim director, but now she is our full-time director. I want to say that she's only in her 40s. So I know that as the elder statesman, I will be trying to help her go through the ropes and everything like that, because we now have more young people that are in the leadership roles in our organization. So if you're a young leader, listen to the voice of the elders, and us folks that are in the elderly ages need to at least respect some of the opinions of the young people, because I think that the generational conversations need to be both ways. I think even Miss April and you would agree with that, and I'm sure Mr. Monroe would as well. So we need to listen to each other and respect each other's views and learn from each other.
Thank you so much, Mark, and everyone that's on the call, Dr. Diamond. It all worked out. I say that now. My mom T. Nan always says Murphy's Law, but I feel that this was God's design. It was something that was on my heart, and I know that my father, with all the losses and things, and we have conversations, and I felt that he was ready to share his story. There's going to be more time with us, and for anyone that has some questions, once you morph, we're all going to go through things in life, but if you're not ready, and if it's going to be anger, grief, there's 5 stages of grief. Anger is one of them. And I think that the one that we don't, as my cousin D had put up there, we have to honor our mother and father. But sometimes when we get older, we have to have our own voice. And I think that we get stuck, but we have to grow. We have to respect. However, I'm grown as well. And sometimes it's going to be a little rough when you're peeling the onion. You may not want to hear it. Then there's other baggage that we have. And I just know that just listening in groups and just for folks in general, we really don't know what's behind it. I always say, when I get up every day, I thank God for where I've become, because look where I came from. And the video that I have today is an event. My dad was late, but it was the point of, it was a song, but it was a pivotal moment of my life, of how I started from nothing, but it was one of my days. So we have a little something personal. I really don't do personal stuff, but that's today. I thought because my dad is here, that it was 2 seats for you and you missed it, but you were on your way and you made it. But this time, this is why this is a pivotal moment. At times I waited for my dad, did not have all the answers. He was not in this video that we're going to share, but guess what? He came, he was there. So that was a highlight, Dad. And I want to show this video because he couldn't really figure it out. So remember, you was on your way to New Jersey for this event.
Oh, yeah.
So now we're going to make a positive to a negative. And you guess who taught me that? My grandfather passed away and he got married on my father's day of his death to make the positive into a negative. As we say, you take lemons and make lemonade. That's one of the things that my dad gave me. But Daddy, I love you.
I love you
eldest.
too.
Bomber Popcorn is here. Our journey was a little rocky, but we're here. So we're going to close out with this song. Thank you, everyone. And this is our Father's Day message from the Butterfly Room for 2026. And we'll see you next week on the couch.
All
Dr.
right, Mark.
Diamond, right? We on the couch, Dr.
Diamond.
Diamond next week.
Yes, we are.
So catch us
I
out.
enjoyed
And we have the
everybody.
dinner party on Wednesdays.
We'll have the dinner party on Wednesday. We had it earlier today where we talked to a young gentleman that has got his own boxing ring and boxing gym here in Hickory, North Carolina, and another gentleman that is in upstate New York who is a historian and has talked about the lessons that he learned from the old Greek philosophers and all along those lines. So get ready to play this video as we get ready to get out of here. And all
Good
along
night,
those lines.
everyone. Happy
Good
night.
Father's Day.
Good night.
Happy Father's Day, Mark.
Pleasure to meet
No,
you.
Marcus, he's a father to many. You know, he's a father to many.
Yes, because I've got that whole mentoring thing, so definitely I appreciate that and everything. Just really quickly before I play this video, because it's kind of that notice of late notice. I remember because we were talking about it, my dad actually made it to one of the funerals of a family member, but he didn't make it in time because he actually was involved in a car accident, but he got there in time to actually lay some of the dirt on the person that was being buried. I think it might have been one of my grands and all along those lines, but that was he was trying
Now
to
you see why I can't see still. Look, he keep walking, Daddy. I asked him to
I'm
stay
in the
still. Now
kitchen.
you
I
see why
had to go in the
can't hear.
kitchen. I had to go in the
Now you
kitchen.
understand me a little bit more. I guess I got it honest. You gotta be doing
honest.
something.
Like I said, I've learned a lot about you from watching your dad, and I see that you got it honestly from a lot of different people. But let's play this video. I see you got a comment, and I'll play that while the video is rolling. But let's get on out of here. It's been a great show and an amazing show as always. Miss Toya, you did a great job, and I was.
Well, Daddy, you get to see the video now because I don't think he get to see
Okay.
it. All right, watch
Okay.
it. Thank you, everybody.
All right, everybody.
You can do better than that. The energy that she has had all year during her reign, please give it because it's well deserved. She is truly our black butterfly. Give her a hand, everyone. Isn't she absolutely beautiful? Ladies and gentlemen, our queen, Victoria Beacon. How beautiful. How beautiful. skeleton skull. Yes. Served well. Thank you. Thank you. You all, please give her a hand. Please give her a hand.
Now at this time, we will have a history of tradition. Y'all can have a seat.
You found a quiet corner of your mind, a shelf where all the broken things were piled. The stories told in whispers and in scars brought you here beneath these waiting stars. Not for a fix or just to soothe the ache, but for the chance that something new could break. So let the silence hold you like a seam where every thread of hope begins to gleam. This is the in-between. Welcome to the butterfly room, where healing's not an end, it is a tune. You learn to hum in gentle afternoons. Transformation blooms from a cocoon of questions you'll be led to see the colors waiting in the thread. Welcome to the butterfly